Madrid is more of what other toys can they add to their collection. That's basically
You call
what
them
that
toys now,
makes
man?
them
Come
do.
on.
Yeah, Madrid. What toys they can add to the collection? That's what it is.
The only toy we need in Madrid is number 16. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, and who's this number 16?
Number 16 is the 16th Champions League. Boy Bruno, at the end of the FA Cup, he had to do an interview because, you know, he's got a big mouth. And he comes out and he starts spewing, I love it here. If they want me, they know what they need to do. A play on, you know, pay me, pay me, pay me. Is Bruno, and I want you to be sincere. I'm going to ask you 3 questions. I want you to be as sincere as you can. Is Bruno not your best player in the last 3 years? And if he hasn't been, who has it been? Second question, would you re-sign Bruno and give him wages equivalent to a KDB, equivalent to a Tony Kroos, equivalent to a, you know, pick another top mid, Rodri or what have you?
Yeah.
Right, 2. 3, if you could move on Bruno, and let's say you were to get 100 mil for him. Actually, if you were to move on Bruno, how much money do you think you could get for him? And who would you want to replace him?
I guess we could start with Madrid and kind of work our way
Sure.
in terms of what you think Madrid needs now that you guys have your 15th Champions League. And at this point, if I were a fan, I don't even know what I would want if my team just won the 15th Champions League. Was the second in the last 5 years? Is it
Second in the last 3 years, my friend.
in the last 3 years? Yeah. So
yeah,
and now obviously it's official. You guys got Mbappe. So hey, from a Madrid fan, what do you guys need to? I guess I don't know what other level you guys need to get to at this point.
The only thing Madrid fans ever, I'm talking those alive, I'm talking those who are past, I'm talking about the age from conscious set of a fan, let's say 8 years old till 65, 85, is a treble. That's what we need. That's what next season is going to bring us. The only thing Real Madrid needs right now is we need one thing. I would like a second, and a nice to have will be the third. So let me go in that order. We need a backup right back. We need a right back that is going to take some load off of Dani Carvajal in the season. That is not Vasquez. Vasquez is cold as ice. Vasquez should be our backup right winger because we don't have a backup right winger. No, it's not Brahim Diaz. Brahim Diaz is our backup cam. And no, Rodrigo is not a full out and out right winger. He's playing that because that's how he gets into the team, and that's how he stays in the team with Mbappe coming. So we need that. I don't know who it could be. We looked at Jeremy Frimpong, too attacking for me. Madrid needs someone who is a box to box. We need someone who, on defense, he's a machine. As like how Carvalho was a menace in defense when he was young as a fullback, and then he developed once. Once Zidane had to play with the 4-4-2 diamond because Bale kept on getting injured and Isco came into the role as that Bellingham was playing right now. Then you needed the fullbacks to push up, and that's why Marcelo flourished because he didn't do anything attacking wise. So I would either take.
You mean defensively?
Oh yeah, he didn't do anything defensively. He flourished.
You said attacking wise. I was like, Marcelo was one of the best attacking.
Yeah, no, that's what I meant. My bad. I meant Marcelo attacking wise was a menace, a machine, a beast, arguably the best left back ever to don the white jersey, maybe ever.
I got a soft spot for Roberto Carlos, man.
Me too, man.
Let's just say he filled Roberto Carlos's shoes perfectly. Like
they couldn't.
Real Madrid could not have found a better replacement than Roberto Carlos. Than Marcelo to replace Roberto Carlos.
I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to argue with that. That's legit. So yeah, I don't know who that right back is going to be because I was looking at Jeremy Frimpong, but throughout the season I've shown that this guy might be too attacking for us. The guy that we've always wanted to come home was Hakimi. I think his contract ends in 2026, though. We all know we're never going to be able to buy anybody from PSG. So he's going to have to leave on his own. But I think we need that this summer. We need a backup, young right back. There's really nobody in Castilla. We had I was about to say we rented. We loaned out Vinicius Tobias. He hasn't done well in Castilla. So it's tough, man. I don't really know who else there really is out there that could come in and
Do
maybe
a
not
job.
give competition right away to Carvajal, but do a good job when he gets the minutes and doesn't complain because he knows that by 2026 he's starting.
But I think Real Madrid is in that. But I think Real Madrid is in that bracket if you can sell the project to that player. I don't know who that person is right now in world football that is an up and coming right back that you can say, okay, you know what? This is, first of all, the fact that Real Madrid picked up the phone and called you is already, I think, any player knowing that Madrid is thinking about them. And then you look at the age of Carvajal and say, okay, I might not get my start right now, but I'm in contention to start in a season from now or 2 seasons from now. I think that's very, very doable. The only thing is who, because the way world football is now is a lot of clubs have money, right? And with
Yep.
just the way football has gone with agents and player power and whatnot, it's now hard to just get a young player at 19 years old and say, hey, you know what, you can come in, develop. Everybody wants a big pay. The club wants the big pay. The player wants the big pay. So that's why it's going to be very tricky for you to figure out. But I think I think Hakimi is doable. I think that's more doable than the Alfonso Davis on the left wing, just because Hakimi is basically best friends with Mbappe, at least from what it shows.
Yeah,
So
and
I
he's a
think,
Madridista. I mean, he's a Madridista through and through, right? I
yeah.
mean,
So
you think he's? I think he's. I don't. I think Alfonso Davies is way easier because Alfonso Davies' contract ends in 2025, and Bayern is not going to let him go for free. So they need to sell him this summer if he doesn't want to resign. Whereas Hakimi, the moment he wants to run out his contract to leave, most likely to go to Real Madrid, you know what's going to happen. Everybody heard what Mbappe said when he
yeah,
was announcing that he's happy to be going to Madrid, which was they were going to destroy my career. They're going to make sure I never played a game the moment I said I wasn't going to stay. And we all know that these golden handcuffs now are actually rusty on the inside, and they're just it's golden tinfoil out there in PSG, folks. Don't believe the hype. Um, yeah, that's why I think Davies is much easier than Hakimi. He creates that complication of having to come as a free agent because it's PSG. But
I'm
yeah,
thinking more of like a project though. Like I see what you're saying in that regards, in terms of but I think in terms of Alfonso Davis, there is still a project in Munich, right? And I'm not saying that
is
Munich is
there?
Madrid. Munich
You,
is not Madrid, but I think there's you
you
can
think
still
company? You think
tell.
Vincent Company is a
Not saying that he's
project?
not saying he's there, but there's still I still feel that Munich still has a structure to have a project. PSG on the other hand, I don't even know what the project is at PSG anymore.
But at least they have a world class coach who's won the Champions League and just done it in won the treble and has actually done it in international level as well, working with players that he hasn't thrown money at. I don't know. I think PSG, now that Mbappe is gone, they can now focus. And I'm not saying they will be, but they have Enrique and his coaching staff. They have Luis Campos. They have Dembele. They have Donnarumma. They have something they can build off of. They just stop making these dumb purchases, these emotional purchases. Why would you go and get Ramos just because you want to stick it to Real Madrid? Why would you go and get Asensio? What has he ever shown that Asensio is of quality that you should pay him what Madrid said they're not going to pay this guy, even though this guy has played so great for us in the past before his ACL injury,
Well, it's
right?
like the whole Cancelo thing.
PSG needs to just stop listening to Nasser Al Khelaifi and let the football minds do what they do. We all know PSG's problem has always been the midfield. They let Camavinga go from within their league. They let Camavinga go. Tchouameni within their league. They let Tchouameni go. And instead, you're bringing in Rabios and Vitinhas. Look, Josh, do you know where Verratti is? I would like to know because he's been missing from the world. Only his friends and family know Verratti is. Like this guy was
Wow,
supposed
I
to
totally
be.
forgot about Verratti, man.
That's
I
what I'm
just
saying.
wait. What did Verratti go to?
He's been
Did he
put in
go to
jail.
Juve? Did he go to
No,
Juve?
no, they did to him what they were doing to Mbappe. He's
Oh
not training
wow.
with the team. He's in like what they did with Rabiot. He's in no man's land,
Ooh.
losing form and gaining age. Never, ever, ever go to PSG, people. It's not the place.
You know what's so
It's not a
crazy
place
though?
for a career.
I was actually listening to I forget who it was, and it was someone with the Italian FA, and they were talking about how they had warned Donnarumma not to go to. They had told
PSG.
him stay in because at the time, because he wanted to leave, and this is when AC Milan was slowly getting back to AC Milan that we know now,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah.
And they
He
told him
wanted
just
money.
stay. You're gonna be good. But he's like, no, I want to go play with Messi. I want to go play with Neymar and all these guys. And now he's having a difficult time now in Paris.
But let's be real.
And
Was it because he wanted to play with Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe, or because he wanted to get that Rolls Royce and not make a dent in his bank account? Let's be very real, man. Nobody's going to PSG because they wanted because of a football project. Nobody.
I'm sure the latter is probably the truer reason. But at the same time, but I guess if you
That's what he
argue
said. Okay.
an opportunity to play with Neymar, because at that time that looked like the dream team to play for, right? Neymar, Messi, and Mbappe.
I also want to move to California, not because of the sunshine, but because I want to be able to be in a state that is truly committed to the people and citizens and democracy. Come out of here, man. That's ridiculous. We're gonna make ridiculous statements and believe them. That's sure. I want to be 7 feet. I want to be 6'5" because I want to be able to be able to, when everybody wants to ask me to reach for the top shelf for them, I'm just there ready to help them out. That's why, Josh.
That's why.
Not because tall people are get everything in the world.
That's fair enough.
Come on, man.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Speaking of Real Madrid, so with Mbappe coming in, I know we talked about. You said so. It looks like Real Madrid. Your two main issues are getting more of a supporting cast for your mid and your right back.
Yeah. So what I was, because that was the first thing we kind of digressed because PSG is so ridiculous. The second thing I was saying, right? I talked about what we think we need, which is a right back for the future, and I'm saying future, I mean like next 2 years minimum. The second we think that, like I said, would be a nice to have would be Alphonso Davies if we can keep Mendy, because I think Ferland Mendy gives us something that Alphonso Davies doesn't give us, and vice versa. And having those two, if they're okay balancing, sitting on the bench and playing based upon Ancelotti's tactics, that'd be great. I don't think it'll happen though. The thing that those last thing which I was saying, which was sorry, I said the nice to have. I said the thing we need. Sorry, not the nice to have. I said what we need. Alphonso Davies is not a nice to have. Alphonso Davies is what I'm hearing about. I don't think we necessarily need him, but sure, if we're not going to lose Ferland Mendy, great. I think we're fine keeping Mendy and Fran Garcia, or even if you don't like Fran Garcia, you bring back Miguel Gutierrez, who's shown he's doing well and done well with Girona this season. I will want to note, though, there is a guy named Yan Couto who Vinicius turned into actual pancake because he kept on flattening him every time he drove past him in the league where we destroyed these guys for nothing. He said he would come. This guy's Brazilian. This guy would love to come to Madrid. Let's be very real. Even though Girona is a Manchester City derivative and is full of Barcelona links, he'd rather come to Madrid. He knows it. But the way he got cooked by Vinny, I don't think we want him. It's so sad because he's did very well this season for Girona. He's also, I don't like his profile. He's too small. I feel like if he's gonna get, even though yes, we have Vinny, we have Mbappe, there's really not many other players in the world that can beat that we'd really be concerned about when it comes to pace and quickness and dribbling. With Neymar being out, with Messi not being in top-notch football, sure, we shouldn't have too much worries. But Yan Couto, just want to note for those that are listening and those who are asking, I don't think he fits the bill. I think Vinicius really exposed him and almost ruined his chances of ever coming to Madrid. Let's see what happens next season.
If you're looking for a backup though, then and if he did really well this season.
But a backup that can like step into Carvalho's shoes. I see him doing well when we have.
It's like people were saying. I think it was a right back. Yeah, it was like for Chelsea.
Reece James.
No, not Reece James. They were saying the person.
I take Reece James if he wasn't so injury prone.
Schooled at the Stamford Bridge, and because of that, people were saying, "Oh, that person isn't good enough." Oh yeah, it was Tomori. Yeah, because Tomori did not get picked for the England squad.
Wait, Tomori's not with Chelsea. He's in AC.
Yeah, but Chelsea fan, like English fans, on like online, because he was like Tomori did not make the England squad for the
Oh, okay,
Euros.
yeah,
And then people
yeah.
were arguing in the comments, like, debating, like, oh, Tomori is way better than Maguire, blah, blah, blah. And then some Chelsea fans were like, oh, Tomori sucks. He came to Stamford Bridge and got embarrassed. I'm like, in my head, I was just thinking, like, that's just one game. You know what I mean? But I can see, but if, that's what I'm saying, if this guy has done well throughout the course of the season, he's coming from a great system, then I don't think might be too soon to write him off, especially if he's not coming to start right away. Because he can still learn the Real Madrid ways. Maybe he was just being Brazilian. How old is this kid that you're talking about?
Yankuto?
Yeah.
Good question. I feel like he's definitely younger than Carvajal.
Okay,
Let
if
me
we were
see.
talking like maybe he was like 21, then that could just be, he's just looked up to Vinicius, and it's like when everyone sees Messi and all of a sudden they don't know how
Yeah,
to
he's
defend.
22. He's 22.
Maybe that could be it. It could just be, what, Vinicius, Brazilian. You're just like, oh my god,
But his profile, man,
let
he's
me just
just
let Vini go. I don't know if you've ever someone said that. The person was like, oh, if I ever met Messi or something like that, I'm not gonna try to tackle Messi. He's like, are you crazy?
oh man,
I'm like, what?
come
If these what players are
on.
doing, this is
That's
why
ridiculous.
I'm not forgiving. I think it was what's his name? For Croatia, probably Guardiola for Croatia. Remember
Oh.
that Messi goal against Croatia?
Oh, yes. Yes.
That
Yes.
goal, that I never forgive that defender.
Yes.
That was too easy, man. That was
I
way
think
too
that was
easy.
one of the reasons why Real Madrid was like, nah. you can go to City for if we really like you, you can
It's like
you can
that.
you can come back.
It's like,
Sorry,
yeah,
those things, because Yankuto, yes, he is 22, and you do make a good point there. But I want to say that Yankuto, after that game, was bawling because he got just so destroyed by Vinicius Jr. and the team that I think, one, he knew his chances of going to Madrid were extremely hampered. Two, he let down his team, and three, he might not get called up for Brazil because of that, even though Brazil needs a right back. But going back to the thing I said I would like, right? I talked about Alfonso as our current wish list, which I don't know why. Like I said, I talked about a backup right back. There is a need because Nacho is looking like he's likely to leave. Militao is young. I think he's 22, 23. Nacho's gone. Alaba, too old. Probably has another two more, up to the World Cup in those legs. Rudiger, a little bit more legs, just because his physique. His physique looks like someone who's got a couple more years left in him. I'm
yeah,
pretty sure if I were to compare Rudiger, Antonio Rudiger, he is 31, right? Whereas
yeah,
um, David Alaba, I believe he's 34. Let's see. He's also
yeah. I
31.
think he's gonna be. Yeah, it's gonna be up there now.
He's also 31. So, um, I want Lenny Yoro from Lille. He
Mm,
is he's smart. He's athletic. He's good on the ball. His tackling is phenomenal. And he wants to come to Real Madrid. The problem is Lille wants, I think, 60 or 80 mil. Madrid's like, we're not going to pay you that. This guy's contract is about to expire. Madrid, but he's also said he doesn't want to leave on a free. He wants to, because he loves, it's his boyhood club.
oh,
So Madrid and him
they'll
are going
try
to
to
have
do
to come
something
to an
back.
agreement, right?
Yeah, they'll probably
Madrid
like some
and
clause or something.
yeah, it's probably going to end up being like, yo, he's not going anywhere, or else he's gonna leave for free. Like, he wants to come to Madrid. Let's agree on 45 mil or something like that, right? I would really like him because I think Lenny Yoro and Militao after the World Cup are going to be after the 2026 World Cup are going to be the best defenders in the world for a while. Um, that's what I'd like to see.
Yeah.
That's what I want to. Other than that, man, we don't need help. We don't need anybody in the midfield. We lost Tony Cruz, and I think our style of play is going to have to evolve because of that. Because we've had this Tony Cruz pacemaker, kind of like Busquets, right? Difference
Mm,
is that he not only adjusts the pace of the game, his pass completion percentage and rates, and his long balls and the efficiency and the way he moves the opponents with his passing. We're gonna have to replace that somehow. Um,
mm.
we have a lot, Chomeni can take up some of that. Valverde can take up some of that. Kama and Bellingham can take up some of that. I think it'll be easier for us to replace what we lose with Modric than it is what we lose with Cruz, and that's why Cruz was starting this season more often than Modric, because you can replace the creativity with Bellingham, with Fede, with Cruz. and the combination of your midfield and your attack. But you can't necessarily replace what you get from Tony. So that'll be interesting to see. I don't think we need anybody else in midfield though. Apparently, Florian Wirtz. There's a lot of noise about Florian Wirtz. I don't see him as a Toni Kroos replacement. I don't think we need him either. Why do you have Florian Wirtz and Bellingham?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Right. That's kind of like that'll be like Figo and Beckham back in the Galacticos days. I don't think we need him. I think if I was Florian Wirtz, I'd be trying to go to Bayern if he cares about what they're doing. But they have Musiala, right? Really, the best place for him is Manchester City because he will take over Kevin De Bruyne.
Rich Cole Palmer was the KDB replacement, but that's a conversation for another day.
It's a conversation for another party, man. But hey, I will say this. I think if I were you guys, this whole nonsense coming out of Bruno, which we'll get to, this whole let's get to that later. That's what I think Real Madrid needs. We don't need anybody else in attack. It'd be nice if we had a striker, an up and coming striker. But I think we're fine. I think until the World Cup, the only thing we need is a backup right back. And it'd be nice to have Lenny Yoro.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I had one question for you for Madrid before we move on. Just because of time, sorry. Because I got to go for 4. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, so we can do 2. Yeah. So that's, I have one last question for you for Madrid. Is now the Mbappe is coming in, how would you like to set up now that Mbappe is here? Because I know it's been all these years. It's been, we could do this, we could do that. Like now that it's official, how would you like to see Madrid step out?
I think we need to go back to our 4-3-3. That's it. That's been our formation. We had to make sure because we lost Benzema, and because we had way more midfielders and brought in Bellingham than we needed. Now, if it's 4-3-3, it's obviously from back to front. Dani, Rudiger, Militao, Mendy. In the midfield, you have Tchouaméni as your anchor. It's at 6. You have Fede Valverde as your 8, your new number 8, and then you have Jude Bellingham as your more attacking, creative mind. You still with me? You're frozen, buddy. Should I keep talking? I'm gonna keep talking in case you need to edit this later. But then in the top 3, I would play. Yeah, you were frozen for a bit.
Oh, I was frozen. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll start up again. For me, I think our setup is going to needs to go back to 4-3-3. We did a makeshift this season because we lost out on our boy Benzema, and we had 2 more midfield players than we needed, especially by adding Jude Bellingham. So for me, you're playing 4-3-3, starting from the back. You have Dani right back, Rudiger and Militao playing together in the center of the park as you center backs. We have Mendy, who I said for me is the best left back in the world right now. Not many people that can really speak to his ability to defend. Offensively, he leaves you wanting, but we don't need that anymore because we got our new BBC. In the midfield, you have the 6, you have the Tchouaméni, the new 8, Valverde, and then you have Jude Bellingham, who is a more creative cam, who drops into the CM role, maybe left CM like he's been doing for us, and cover that winger, make up for what Mendy doesn't bring you going forward.
Yeah.
And then, of course, up top, you have Vinny on the left, Mbappe through the middle. He's taking number 9, and then Rodrigo on the right. I think that's how he's going to start out the season. It's going to be up to Rodrigo to prove himself as a top forward, or to drop out and then Camavinga step in, and we end up playing the 4-4-2 diamond like we've been playing with Mbappe and Vinicius up at the top.
Okay, that was kind of what I was looking at. I was really thinking the 4-4-3 with, like, I guess Bellingham can play as a third forward.
No, because then he'd have to be on the right side, or alternate going on the right, and then Bellingham would then play as a center forward, right? So you have Mbappe and Vinny left wing and right wing, and they can alternate. I see that happening. Like I said, I see that happening if Rodrigo doesn't if Rodrigo, you heard me in the Champions League final. I was like, where's Rodrigo? He's literally a ghost. Like, and he does this sometimes. This is why the guy keeps getting taken off. He doesn't finish games. Like, when he starts, he either has a phenomenal start or else he ghosts. And when he does play, he's a phenomenal sub. Anytime he comes on sub, he does awesome. But for some reason, when he starts, he just falls away. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't know why. I don't know when. I don't know what the problem is. But he ghosted that whole Champions League final. He ghosted. He was gone.
But that was his first. That was his first
I
final.
thought he was chilling with Verratti. He was gone.
Also be a thing too because he's not a big name like the other guys too, right? So sometimes because you're not a big name, I don't know how to explain it. You might not necessarily. It's like I don't know how to explain it. I feel like Rodrigo is just suffering from being not the Vinicius. He's not the Bellingham. He's not the guys, the names that are celebrated. I think he's just kind of suffering from that, and people expect him to do more.
From that. I mean, that's on him. That's on him. He had a lot of opportunities to shine. I mean, he's shown in the Champions League quarterfinals with City. He both legs. But where was he against Bayern? Where was he in the Champions League final? You remember at one point we looked on the screen. I said, "Guys, tell me where is Rodrigo?" Right now, we're currently seeing all 11 players on Dortmund and all 2 players of Real Madrid. The only person who we shouldn't be able to see on the screen right now is
the
Courtois.
Keeper. Yeah,
but we couldn't find him. We literally was like, "Where's Waldo?"
I think you were just too focused on the Rodrigo. And you were barbecuing too, so every time you looked up,
he had it on.
And he was tying his shoelaces.
Yo, I get it. I kind of, Ancelotti had a role for him to play where he was on the wing and he's literally on the touchline.
Yeah.
But I think it hurt us more than it benefited us because then Rodrigo didn't have that freedom that he normally has. And Ancelotti wasn't playing an overload on the left wing. So I think it hurt us more than it benefited us, but at the same time, I don't know, man. I think Rodrigo's the first on the chopping block with Mbappe coming, and it's up to him. He needs to show up.
Right? Easily said. Yeah, and that makes sense when you look at like you're not gonna give up. You're not gonna put Vinicius on the bench. Judy's definitely not going on the bench anytime soon, right? So it's like sometimes coaches just have to do what's obvious, right?
And Arda Güler,
fans, we get frustrated as fans sometimes that it's like that's the obvious sub. Like, why is that? It's so obvious that you're going to take this guy off because he's the youngest or he's the least. But it is what it is. Sometimes it is. That's how the game goes.
But he also needs to watch out for Arda Güler because if Arda Güler comes on for him, he's a left wing. He's a lefty. He's dangerous. He's good. I
gotta watch this kid.
He is more likely to get usurped by Arda Güler than Camavinga and having an extra person in the midfield. I think the first sub for us will always be Camavinga until if we don't loan Güler, I think the first sub will be Camavinga and then second will be Brahim. But Arda Güler will have more opportunities because Kus is gone next year. In that we will be able to play more of a 4-3-3. And so the first sub in the midfield will be Kama. And then Brahim has the opportunity to be subbed in the midfield or in the attack. But Arda Güler, I think Rodrigo needs to be more concerned about Arda Güler because Arda Güler has the ability to allow us to sell him and make money from him more so than Camavinga. Because playing 4 midfielders does not mean that Rodrigo is not valuable. It means that you're playing a different system and you only have 2 spots for attack. But Arda Güler will be, oh no, you have another guy who is legitimately a right winger. He's a lefty. He's creative. He's scoring. He's also got a dirty left foot. I think Rodrigo's career at Real Madrid is more at risk with Arda Güler's than anybody else. Not even Brahim. I don't think Brahim can take his spot as good as Brahim has been this season.
That kind of makes sense. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, man. Mbappe's first game is what, the Super Cup.
It's a Super Cup.
Sorry?
But apparently Jude Bellingham is going to go get surgery on his shoulder, which is going to mean that, after the Euro, just means he's going to miss the preseason. He's going to miss the beginning of the season. And then, of course, he's going to have to get back into form, which means that you're more likely going to see Tchouaméni, Camavinga, Fede Valverde, and then Rodrigo, Mbappe, and Vinicius. So Rodrigo's going to have a lot of opportunity to showcase himself. But the first is going to be the Atalanta, Real Madrid Super Cup, which should have been Leverkusen, which I would have loved to see.
Yeah, that would have been that definitely would have been a good Super Cup for sure.
Yeah, it would have been. Everybody always jokes. They always say that the goals for the Super Cup, when it was going to be, if it was Leverkusen and Real Madrid, they were going to be in the 90 plus 8 minute you're gonna get 2 goals from Leverkusen, and then 90% you get 2 goals from Real Madrid. You go to extra time, and then Madrid wins in the 120th minute.
Man, imagine if that was like one of the bets. Man, that payout would be nice. That would
my
be
God.
Speaking of payouts, I missed the Man City payout. Oh, in the finals of the FA Cup, it was a 5x, but I stupidly bet because I don't know, for some reason I was rushing to the game. I know you're like going to place a bet, but you just keep like things keep happening, and then I placed a bet in the first.
I mean, I'm not a betting man. I'm not a betting man because I'm not a betting man because
like $1 or $2 and get like $50 back. I'm like, yo,
I know, but I'm my fandom trumps my intelligence when it comes to betting. The only time I bet is when it's like I don't have a hen in the fight.
Yeah, I don't really go that crazy. Like, no. It's just I might do a couple of dollars here and there. Like, okay, I usually do like $1 to get back 16 kind of thing, right? And then
that's fair.
Most of the time it doesn't work, but when it does,
are you betting on this NBA Finals?
Sorry,
are you betting on this NBA Finals?
No. That's not. I only bet on soccer, man. I don't bet on things that I don't know.
That's good.
The guy from Cleveland, yeah.
Oh,
in the finals, man. Kyrie's in the finals, man. Kyrie's in the finals. Yeah. So who's in the finals again? It's
Boston and Dallas.
And Dallas Mavs, yeah.
I mean, I've not been watching it either. I will say this: I've gotten so deep into soccer in the last 10 years that I like the setup of how things are with the Champions League and then your league and then your cups and then international break. Even though I think it's too much for the players, I like that setup, that plan. The NBA, I'm like, I get playing everybody home and away, but the NBA, there's way too many games. Way too many games. I just don't understand why we need 82 games. And then they added this in-season tournament. I didn't really watch it. I thought it was just a gimmick.
Yeah, that's money. Man. Money, man.
Yeah.
Money.
So that's the problem with your American sports, right? And that's why Todd Bowley is doing the nonsense he's doing at Chelsea.
But that's the same thing that's happening with football, right? Is we're slowly getting to that.
FSG, like Chelsea, Arsenal, right? Cronkies.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's why I have not really been watching the NBA finals this season. But
it's also because when we were kids, we watched every league, man.
Everything.
But now there's only so much time in a day.
You're right.
By the time you come back, by the time you get home, you have dinner. Sometimes I watched the first round of the. Actually, was it first round or second round? I watched the first rounds of the playoffs, a couple of them, which I thought were really good games. They were pretty good games, entertaining. Both games went to the final buzzer, which was great. Unfortunately, Lakers lost in the final buzzer there, but it was good. But I can dedicate, from 8 to 10, and then 11.
Oh yeah, the West Coast times.
I'm like, the day is just too long at that point. I just need some time. I need to just watch mindless TV. It's like
it's you said it, man. And the highlights aren't even that fun to watch anymore, right? Like soccer, the highlights, you're watching goals, you're watching chances. NBA highlights, I'm like, I've never really been a fan of watching NBA highlights, to be very real. But if I missed the game, I would just be like, okay, what's the score? Who had the most points, and that's it. I only watch highlights of like game 7s or knockout games. But we digress.
Yeah.
So that's Real Madrid.
So with the United one, okay, ask me what you wanted to ask me about Bruno Fernandes. I think that's probably the best way to get that door open.
So your boy Bruno, at the end of the FA Cup, he had to do an interview because, he's got a big mouth. And he comes out and he starts spewing, I love it here. If they want me, they know what they need to do. A play on, pay me. Is Bruno, and I want you to be sincere. I'm going to ask you 3 questions. I want you to be as sincere as you can. Is Bruno not your best player in the last 3 years? And if he hasn't been, who has it been? Second question, would you re-sign Bruno and give him wages equivalent to a KDB, equivalent to a Tony Kroos, equivalent to a, pick another top mid, Rodri or what have you?
Yeah.
Right, 2. 3, if you could move on Bruno, and let's say you were to get 100 mil for him. Actually, if you were to move on Bruno, how much money do you think you could get for him? And who would you want to replace him? that is actually attainable. Don't say Rodri or somebody like that. We know
Oh
that's
yeah,
not
no,
realistic.
no.
And don't go say Jude Bellingham either, because you know that ain't realistic either. So those are my 3 questions for you, man, about Bruno, and then you can dive into what United need.
Yeah, I think
so
I would say it wraps into all that, right? What United need. I think Bruno Fernandes is a very, I think he's a vital piece in terms of what direction we're going.
So you're answering the last question first. Then you're saying that you would not move Bruno Fernandes on.
I would move him on personally.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is the thing, right? So it depends on what the board is trying to do, and this is why I said he's a vital. The decision has to be made on him, but that decision is going to be very key on who the next manager is, one, and then two, what style of football we're looking to play. You keep Bruno if we want to change nothing and we want to just keep this, whatever we've called this project for the last how many years, right? Then you keep Bruno because at that point, he's one of the only few players that we have, or pretty much the only player that we have that can play every game and do what he does, right? But from a standpoint of what we need and, to the conversation. So the first one was, I would say, yeah, you can argue that Bruno, with the system that we're playing and the way the team is set up, yes, Bruno is our best player. But would I say he's actually our best player in a different system? The answer is no, he's not our best player in a different system.
And what is that system? What is this system that you think Bruno would not be your best player? And what is it? Why do you want to play that system?
I want more control. So I believe my number 10 or my main player needs to be able to dictate the game, needs to be able to control it, needs to be able to be the person. No, it doesn't have to be 100% every game and all that. I want someone that can play in a team where close controls, you can pass the ball, move the ball around, it's not predictable. His style is not predictable. What else can I say? Like Bruno has things in he's like a KDB, like I always say, right? Put him up front in a great team. Put him up with a great team with space. Bruno Fernandes has, when it comes to passing and taking and shooting, he's fantastic with that. But we don't need that player. That's a luxury player that we don't need. So that's what I mean by that, right? I need a player that can come in and everybody gets better around them, right? Not just that person is the one person on, when you're playing the bottom 5 teams, the person wakes up and does what they do, but for the remaining 80% of the season, they're nowhere to be found, or they just frustrate you. So that's where, for me, that's my issue with Bruno Fernandes, right? Whether you like him or not, whether he has a skill or not, that's my issue with Bruno Fernandes. I don't think he helps Manchester United as a team. Under pressure, when we play teams that really matter, he's just not. He's underwhelming, extremely underwhelming. So that's why I would definitely want him.
Cup final, would you not say Bruno was your best player in that?
Okay, how long has Bruno been here for? And then
the
one fluke game. All right, that's what I'm saying, right? We can't just be saying this person did this in this one game, but I can name you all the other big games that he was nowhere to be found, right? So yeah, so that's the thing. Just like saying we can keep Ten Hag because he beat Man City in the FA Cup finals. Then
in fine fashion.
Sorry?
In fine fashion. He beat Manchester City in fine fashion.
We won the finals, and you can't take that away from anybody. So, but so that was the first question of, is Bruno Fernandes the best player on our team? With the current setup, yes, he is. But if you actually have a coach that can come in and create a system where we're actually using players' best attributes and skills, then Bruno Fernandes might not necessarily be the best player on our team. Because I don't believe that he has a technical ability. Like, there's certain things that he lacks in his game that I just know that he wouldn't work in certain systems. But anyways, I digress. What was the second question again? Was how much would he go for? You mean?
Yeah. The second question was if you could move him on, how much would he go for, and who would you replace him with?
Bruno Fernandes, I think he could go anywhere from. He turns 30 this year, so I would say. So this is where fans, right? So this is the thing with fans, it's hard because a lot of United fans see Bruno Fernandes as this, top 4 players in the world. That's kind of like when they talk about Bruno Fernandes, he's like top 4 in the world to them.
Where do you think he sits then if he's not top 4? Do you think he's top 10 midfielders in the world right now?
I don't think so.
Okay. No, continue. I just want to know.
I'm just saying, maybe his numbers might say he is. But you also have to put in those factors of who else in Europe plays every game, every minute of every game, doing bad or not, right? Those are those factors that people forget when they make all these stats. If you're the main guy in a team like Manchester United and you're guaranteed to play every single minute of every game, whether you're horrible or not, I would hope that you would get those numbers. That would be my hope. You would get some of those numbers, right? But anyways, I would say 70 million. I would say 60 to 70 million, just because of the value that he has that he has at United. That's it. It has nothing to do with he's gonna go elsewhere and make another team, win the Champions League. That's not why. It's just because of the value that he's provided to us. I think anywhere from 65 to 75 million is good business.
Okay. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I don't think there's anybody who would take him for that at his age and on his wages. But okay. So what does United need then, my friend? What does United need next season from player perspective? And who would you like to see as a coach? Who would be your top 2 or 3, or maybe just one? I don't know. Of coaches you would like to see coming in.
For Manchester United, and I've been saying this among fans, and I don't really have much. My 2 main things for Manchester United, which has always been since Ole came in, was the biggest signing that United can make is the manager. To me, in my opinion, that's the biggest signing that we can make. Is the manager. Is what is the manager's vision for the team? What's the manager's style of play? When it comes to managers, obviously De Zerbi is like the most obvious option that everybody's kind of flaunting out there. I don't really know in terms of a manager. All I know is there are managers that I've seen because I've watched Serie A, I've watched La Liga a lot this season, and I know that there are managers out there that can do a better job than Ten Hag. And I don't just mean just doing a better job like by results. I just mean in how they. Okay, let me explain the coach that I want. The coach that I want, I don't know what the name is. Like, this is where fans were getting on me. Like a few fans that you got an extra name. I'm like, I'm not getting paid $30 million a year, so I'm not going to mention you a name, but I can give you a description. Right? Is a player. I need a coach that first of all is not going to be on this high horse about I need the player. I need to get XYZ. If not, my plan is not going to succeed. I don't want that coach. Bye-bye. I want a coach that can come in, use the players that they have with the best of their abilities. I want a coach that can come in, that can bring the best, like I said, the best out of players, utilizes the squad in a healthy way. Favoritisms are always going to be there. We're all human beings, and we're always going to have our favorites. So that's what I'm looking for. I don't care if you finish 10th in the league. We don't make Europe. That's my goal for Manchester United. I want to see structure. Forget about the structure. People keep talking about structure upstairs. I want structure on the pitch as well, because I grew up in a time where we didn't know what the hell was going up upstairs. Like, you were lucky to even know what player was coming in. You were lucky to even know what player was coming until they announced it. So a lot of emphasis on the board, upstairs. But we've glossed that, and we've made excuses for the craziness that has happened on the pitch. To me, is unacceptable. So, long story short, that's the kind of coach I'm looking for, and I'm pretty sure you can find those coaches in Spain or in Italy. You can find those coaches. I can't give you a name, so that's where I can't.
So other than De Zerbi, so you don't think Tuchel fits this profile of a person you've just created?
Tuchel can. My only reservations with Tuchel, and this is the same thing I say to fans, is because fans always say, "Oh, but we've hired coaches, we've hired Mourinho, we've hired this, but they didn't do anything." And it's, yes, you've hired names. You know, I can go back and say, was Mourinho at his best when he came to Manchester United? Way past his best at that time. Van Gaal, way past his. I was watching Van Gaal lift the Champions League trophy in '96 with Ajax, right? So these managers, they had the name. It's like us signing Casemiro for 5 years.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that we did with coaches, right? And then arguably, was Ole a coach? Let's be real. Let's be honest.
I mean,
Was he did all right? He did all right for the tools that he had. He did all right. Well, I would say he did better. Has done better than Ten Hag in a sense on the pitch, but is we still haven't actually hired a proper coach. You know what I mean? So that's where my reservations are with Tuchel. Is Tuchel going to be another? I need my players. I need this. I need that. Before he's just going to get us to another quarterfinals of an FA Cup, and that's it, right? So that's my only reservations with Tuchel. The person I would actually like to see that is actually a name coach would be Poch. That's the guy I want to see, because I believe that Chelsea was kind of the opposite of United this season, in the sense of
Poch.
They had and this is what I'm saying. Not saying that he's my first choice, but if we were going to go for a name coach that's available, then I'll be looking at Poch. I'm not saying that because I don't think right now the manager that we're going to hire, I don't think is the manager that's going to take us to. Is that manager that's going to take us to a certain level where we can compete again, and then we can now get that manager that can get us over the line. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. I think Poch is the kind of person that if you work well with him, especially with Ineos looks like they look like reasonable owners. They look like people who, if you have a sensible plan, they will work with you. And that's why I think Poch might actually work, because we have experienced players at Manchester United, right? We do have experienced players. I think that's what he struggled with at Chelsea was there was no experience at Chelsea.
So who are these experienced players? Because you just said you made a comment about Casemiro. It seems like you don't want him there.
Oh, I like Casemiro.
Next year.
I was just an analogy of how we get people when they're past their prime.
Yeah.
That's what I meant by that.
Okay, so experienced players, you're talking Varane, you're talking Luke Shaw, you're talking Casemiro, you're talking Bruno, you're talking at this point Rashford, right? Yeah, I see what you're saying. Honestly, I think Tuchel is not a good manager. I've said it on this podcast before. I've said it multiple times. I think Tuchel would do great as an international manager. I mean, that's what he should be going into. I just don't see him having the ability to manage egos, and he doesn't have the charisma to manage talent, because talent has the ability, like what happened at PSG. It's like Neymar, Mbappe, all of them are like, yo, who are you? Who do you think you are? Yeah, I think Pochettino would be fantastic for you guys. I don't know why it's been taking so long before someone picks him up. I don't know. I don't know. I think the Derby. I don't know if the Derby has really been tested.
That's the reservation,
right?
But I think,
like Emery had been tested. Dude had been played. Dude had won. How many times in Sevilla did he win the Europa? Villarreal, right? Like even before he came to Arsenal, he'd won with Sevilla the Europa League like 3 times. So that's fair, right? He just didn't give him the chances that he needed and the patience that he deserved. But yeah, I don't see. It's like Lopetegui. When we got Lopetegui at Real Madrid, like, what is he doing? This guy's not been tested. Same thing with the Derby. Same thing with Southgate. I would never go that way. I think a Pochettino would be fantastic for you guys. I think you can bring in Tuchel if you're trying to if you are planning, just 2 years, next 2 years. But I feel like he'll cost too much. He'll want too much if he gets fired, and he definitely will. So yeah, I agree with you.
And then to your point too, right? To your point, I think Manchester United, and this is where we have to be humble as well. Before we wrap up, is we're no longer where the thing with Manchester United is a tricky situation, because we're not as far as we think we are, but we're also not as close as we think we are. You understand what I mean? Like, people think that we need this 4-year project. Sign a manager on for 4 years, get this project. First of all, the lifespan of managers is 18 months in world football lately. That's the lifespan, and I think 18 months is fair. And it's not 18 months you're fired. It's 18 months. That is a great sample size of time, because that's a full season, a preseason, and pretty much half a season. for you to say, okay, is this the person that can take us to the next level? This is the person that we can continue on with. And I think this is my problem with Ten Hag. And when a lot of fans keep saying, he's only been here for 2 seasons, you got to give him time. And it's like, how much you've got to see something. It's like when you're building a house, if you've already seen that there's cracks in the foundation, you're in development. You can tell from right away if the foundation is great or not. You don't keep saying, "Oh, let's just wait and see what happens as we keep going." You can see it right away, and I think this is
you can wait and see and flush money down the toilet.
Exactly, and this is where when people like to use this lazy excuses of, "Oh, but Arteta," Arsenal fans almost kicked Arteta out. Klopp was almost kicked out by Liverpool fans, and I'm like, I do remember. I don't swear, but I do remember. Like I don't swear on. Oh, swear to God, and all. But I do remember fans were making, like the fans that I watch, the United club that I watch games at. I remember they still make fun of me till today, even under Ole. They were making fun of me because I was like, Arteta is 100 times better than this guy. But because you guys were finishing 8th, 6th, everybody was making fun of Arteta and say, oh, he's garbage. But I said to you guys, I actually enjoy watching Arsenal's games. Right? Because it's about the football. You could see what he was trying to build. He didn't have the right players. You know what I mean? So this is where for me, that's why for me, to my point is, we don't necessarily need to go get that Zidane. That's why when we're linked to Zidane, I was like, please no. I love Zidane, but we're just gonna keep repeating the same cycle of getting names. They come in, realize that it's not what it is, and move on. Versus you go get a decent coach that understands. Yeah, there's gonna be pressure. But at the same time, what is the pressure? United we're acting like we're finishing 8th in the league. We haven't qualified out of the group stage. The first time we qualified out the group stage of the Champions League in like 5 seasons was when Ronaldo came. Right? That was when Ronaldo came. And that was then. And then last season, we get knocked out of the Champions League in a group that we should become easily second after Munich. Right? We got slapped by Copenhagen, which I didn't even know the Danish league was part of Champions League. I didn't even know they were part of Champions League. And then
don't sleep on the young boys, baby.
You know what I'm saying? So young boys are part of. I didn't even know. Yeah, that's true. Young boys are Danish, but yeah, that's basically it, right? It's like, so we're not that club anymore, right? Where we can be saying players are not good enough. That's blah blah. But we're not that club anymore. I think we're a club where we're gonna go through that cycle of coaches. We might have to, but it's not just firing coaches just for the sake of it, like Real Madrid did back in the day, where you win the Champions League, you win the league, but not the Champions League, you're fired. We're not talking about that. We're talking about 18 months, show me what you've done, and then you're out the door. And I think when coaches are given that, once coaches have that expectations, things will be different. But I think when coaches are coming to United, and I've noticed a lot of coaches come to United and they notice what the fan base is saying, and I feel like they start tuning their press conferences towards the fans. And it's like, no. It's like gaslighting in a way. It's like you're trying to make me believe something that's not real, because a huge section of the fan base believes that thing is real. So because of that, now every coach that comes in, oh, the Glazers are this, the Glazers are this. I'm like, we're not the only club or organization that has bad owners. We all work for organizations. We don't even know what our CEOs are doing, our VPs are doing. But do we stop going to work?
See what Barcelona is doing out there? You guys are the farthest from problematic owners.
But at the end of the day, you can have what's happening upstairs, but Ten Hag got the players he wanted. They're here. So why can't I see some? It's one thing if I could still see the football you were trying to do, but the players were just still not good enough for it. That's fine. Then we can say, okay, we go again. But when I can't even see what you're trying to do with the players that you have, and then you're, and this is the thing, not to ramble too much, but the fact that Diallo sat on that bench for so long, and even after he scored you that goal against Liverpool, you still did not give this guy a chance.
Ahmed Diallo?
Yeah.
Ahmed? Oh, okay. Yeah.
This guy has more experience than Garnacho. This guy came from Atalanta. Yeah, he only played a couple of games at Atalanta. He went to the championship, was one of the best players in the championship last season on loan. But this guy, did he actually I think his team actually
did they get
lost in the playoffs or something. But he couldn't get a single minute.
Didn't he score the winner in the cup final?
Did he score the winner? No, he came off the bench. He came off the bench.
But he did well.
He did well for, yeah. Like even the game against Brighton, this guy was spinning people. Like this is what we've missed from a winger. That every time he got the ball, you didn't know what to expect. Like he was spinning players around. Like he gives City a hard time. You know what I mean? And then it's like, but this guy has been on your bench, but you're complaining about injuries. And the fan base has the audacity to talk about injuries. I'm like, but this guy's been on your bench. Right? And then you look at that team that played against City. The only player that actually missed more than 2 or 3 months this season was Martinez. That was it.
And Varane,
was
right?
it. But
Varane
was on the bench. No, Varane was on the bench for most of the time. Varane will miss like a game here and there. Like he had a knock here and there, but he was fit for most of the season. He was actually more fit this season than he was last season. I don't know if you remember the one presser where they asked him, why is Maguire playing over Varane? He's like, well, I want somebody more, something about
better on the ball or something like that.
He said, yeah, because Varane was left-footed or something like that. I'm like, yo, what? Only at Manchester United that coaches are allowed to do like Varane has been our best defender since he's come in.
Yeah.
Varane has been our best defender when fit.
He played him in the cup final though.
Yeah. But these are those decisions that he made mid-season, right? And now Varane is like, okay, I think I'm done. And then all of a sudden Casemiro is not good enough. He took Casemiro off for McTominay because he wanted to play more football. Like these are the kind of comments that you hear, and then fans eat it up and say, "Oh yeah, these guys are all this, these guys are all that." And you're just like, guys, like really? Champions League Varane is you're benching Champions League Varane because you want to play more football?
Playing Casemiro and center back as if Casemiro is a makeshift center back. Like he debuted in those in that role every now a couple times for Madrid, but. It's like that's ridiculous for you to be playing him when you have Varane on the bench. Shaw also has been injured for most of the season, right?
Yeah,
you lost Shaw for a while. Rashford. So help me understand what's happening with Rashford. Is he going to leave? Is he worth it? Or would you extend his contract? Like just last point on
contract. There's not really about extending it.
He did sign one.
Yeah, he signed the 350 bags after last season. Yeah. So that's everybody saying that because he got this new contract. He's been, but to be fair, last season was paving over cracks. Like we all knew that, at least those of us that were not too gassed up about Ten Hag coming in. Ten Hag had a good first season, but we knew that the football was. I knew since we won the Carabao Cup, and it was just like it was already going downhill after the World Cup, right? Mm-hmm. Started going downhill a little bit, and then after the Carabao Cup, it felt like once we won that Carabao Cup. It's like the floodgates of how we got to a point whereby if there was one more fixture of the season or 2 more fixtures of the season, Liverpool would have beat us for top 4. Like that's how crazy our season just derailed, right? And it was kind of like, okay, it's his first season. Let's see what he does in the summer. And the next thing you know, we're being linked to Mason Mount or Nana, all these guys. I'm like, what is going on? We're just bringing the Ajax army. Rough. So this is what happened, right? So this is the thing, right? Like the football that we have been playing has not been great. A lot of the goals that Rashford scored last season were individual, what you call individual brilliance.
Even this season, I would say the same thing, right? That goal he had against City, they hit the crossbar, and then City came and destroyed you guys. Even in the cup final, he had that one breakaway, and then poor touches. Walker caught up. Rashford needs to do better. Yeah,
but it's not just Rashford though. But this is where this is why. I'm just so tired. Even Bruno Fernandes this season, I was the most lenient to Bruno Fernandes this season because I'm just like, I give up because I know that the man we have in the dugout is just not good enough. And because of that, every player is looking their worst. And what the sign of a good manager is a good manager gets the best out of even an average player. But when everybody looks garbage, that's on the manager. Like one of my guys that I get on his show, shout out to Flawless, he always says it, all roads lead to the dugout. All roads lead to the dugout. You can't look at a team on TV and you're blaming individuals. It's always individuals. Always, this person do this, person do that. It's like, no. Are you at Carrington? Were you in the locker room, the dressing room, to know what the coach wanted from these players? That you're quick to criticize every player but the one guy that set them up for the game. Why would what sensible player would sign a contract with Manchester United? They haven't been living under a rock. to know that this has been the most unstable club there's been in world football for a very long time.
But isn't that why Ineos guy Ratcliffe wants to bring in youth? Because he knows he can't compete with established players. You don't really have a project, and I think that's part of it as well. Is Ten Hag needs to show, and maybe he's told them, it's like, hey, this is the project. This is what I'm doing. This is what I want to do. Maybe he's told them that, and they're like, you know what, that's not a bad project. But you've had 2 seasons where you have not really had shown that this project is something that is of value or is going to reap rewards. And what? Okay, and do you think Onana is long term, or do you think he's being wrongly crucified, for lack of better terms, because your defense has been so leaky and inconsistent with Erik ten Hag playing Maguire and Casemiro for reasons unknown over Varane?
Yeah. Onana in a good system, yeah, he can be long term in a good system, I believe. I think Onana one is kind of like the Arsenal with Raya and but I think Onana is fine. I think it was kind of like the similar situation where it was like last summer. I said, why not keep De Gea for one? He just won the Golden Glove. He's been our best player for quite some time. Yes, he made some blunders, so he made some mistakes, but at the end of the day, a lot of those mistakes also came because of the pressure that we were under. Like, there's no reason why we should be drawing 1-0 to Burnley, right? Like, those are those things is because we've put ourselves in those positions, and that's why when De Gea is under pressure, he made those mistakes. Fine, but I was like, is it worth spending that 54, 60 million on Onana right now when we can keep De Gea for one more season and then invest in a proper center back or a striker or a winger? We wanted a right midfielder or somebody. You know what I mean? Strengthen other positions that we've been crying out for. We've been crying. Pogba left, haven't replaced him. When Pogba was here, we never had a real CDM. Still don't have one. It's like all these things that we haven't replaced in almost over a decade.
Well, how is Casemiro not a real CDM?
Oh, what I mean, he's not a lone six. Not a lone six. But like Casemiro was definitely not the replacement. He definitely was not the replacement.
Casemiro.
I love Cass, but he definitely wasn't the replacement. I don't think he was.
Okay.
But that was just one position. But I'm just talking about in general, right?
Yeah.
But we spent that money on him, and then Mason Mount. I was like, we already have Bruno Fernandes. Why do we need another Mason Mount?
So
these are all decision making.
And you had Eriksen too.
And Eriksen as well.
Yeah, Eriksen and Bruno. Why did you bring in Mason Mount?
I never know this guy's Casemiro's legs are gone, and United fans, and it's just like, it's like I wish United fans could just for once take a step back. Just not watch United for like a month. Just don't watch United for a month, and just watch football. Right? Because I think a lot of fans watch too much United and nothing else, that they don't understand what the game is about anymore. They don't understand what the game is about.
You're right, because even you've been watching a lot more La Liga.
I've been starved. I've been starved my club. I've been starved in my club. Like, it's the only game I watch, and I'm just like, what are we doing? Like, this is the longest 90 minutes of my life.
I'm not gonna lie, I used to love watching United play, but now I'm like, it's just Arsenal I watch, and I don't care to watch City. Liverpool, I'll tune into a Liverpool match, especially if it's an Anfield. But outside that, man, it's Arsenal, an Anfield game, and then I used to like watching Newcastle because I liked what they had. I liked what Eddie Howe was trying to do. I never really got a chance to watch Aston Villa. I really only watched them when they were playing big teams, but
bigger teams, yeah.
Yeah, but you're right. No. I mean, it's really just Arsenal, and if you're not an Arsenal fan, it's you're a City fan, and then if not either of those, then you're a Liverpool fan. But to be a United fan and tune in, waking up at those times to watch those games, I'd be so pissed, man. Every day it'd ruin my weekend.
Well, yeah, but that's the reality, right? Is people are waking up in Australia to watch those games. I mean, in India to watch those games, like 3 a.m. in the morning. So it's crazy. But at the end of the day, like you said, it's just structure. And that's been my frustration, because why can I watch a Luton Town versus a Burnley and I see more structure in those teams?
Yeah.
But we loaned out 2 of our players to those teams. Right? You understand what I'm saying? Like, we sold our players to those teams that have better structure than we do. So this is where it's so crazy with United, is like, we're saying all these players are not good enough for us, but they go on and do better while we remain stagnant. Do you know what I mean? It's such a weird situation. It's like no one is ever good enough for us, but they go elsewhere and do better. So it's like, what is the issue here? Right? Is it like, are we just over entitled with players and we're not really understanding what a player? Look at Palestri. Look at Palestri's killing it now. Was he in Spain? Yeah, he's killing it in Spain. But this guy couldn't get a game. Sorry?
Yeah, I said I believe it's Spain. Can't recall where.
But because he's not because we've been getting all these coaches that want quick fixes. This is why they rely on Rashford and Bruno every single time, is because these are the guys that will give you a quick fix. But when it comes to a long term, talk about competing consistently, those are the players that the Diallos, the Palestris of this world. These are the guys that we ship out, right? These are the guys that we ship out. So it's and this is why this has been my saying all season, and everyone tries to fight me on it. United's biggest problem is not the owners, it is the fan base. And until the fan base actually has perspective, has standards, nothing is going to change, because our owners have spent money. I'd rather have an owner that spends money than an owner that doesn't spend money, like a Liverpool. Look at Liverpool. Look
with the real talk.
Look at what he did to Klopp, right? Like look how much Klopp has achieved, but still he couldn't get his players that he wanted. But look at what he did with the players that he got.
Yeah.
But we're crying over
City every season.
Crying over this and crying over that.
Yeah.
So until my fan base gets out of the victim mentality, victim mindset, I don't understand that we are Manchester United and our job is to win. As a manager, your job is not guaranteed at Manchester United. We should be like, we're not at Burnley giving 4-year contracts to managers. Like, are we crazy?
This has been fun, man. It's good to get back into this.
Back into it, yeah.
Take things off our chests. Gloat a little bit as a Madridista. Let's look into the Euros, man. We could talk more about that once the Euros kick off next weekend. I'm looking forward to it, man. It's gonna be some good people, some people who have no choice but to shine. So
I haven't watched it. I started I set up my France's team for the Euros and on FIFA, but I haven't actually on FC24, but I actually haven't yet.
They released a patch for it for the new FC24, but you only play against a computer. You can't play online anymore, or you have to play online friendlies.
Oh yeah, they have the two versions, and then they have a story. You can do a campaign.
Yeah,
you can play as yourself.
I like the World Cup one that they did last time, because you could play in the tournament and play like you do in a cup match in the seasons, where you're playing online against a random person, right?
Oh.
But they got rid of that, so it's only online friendlies, and then whatever. I think that's what it is. I mean, I tried it yesterday.
There's online friendlies. There's like the actual tournament, and then there's I think they're more focusing on the career mode is what they're really focused on.
That's nonsense, man. Career mode, I could have just done that.
From the little stuff that I've seen from 2K, apparently 2K is supposed to be taking over for 2026. So from what I've seen with 2K, I think is a good thing that we're done with EA. I think is a good.
Oh
thing.
Man,
yeah. Because it's just
I think EA has
2017 has been lazy.
When you have a monopoly for too long, that's what happens, right? You start resting on your laurels, and then before you know it, someone pulls the rug from under you, and you're stuck dusting off the dust and cobwebs from you just sleeping all this time. So I'm tired of EA taking my money for downloading a game. I'm paying $120 to download a game. That's some nonsense.
At this point, you're better off like having like subscription membership, like $20 a month. People just have $20 a month running, and then it just updates. Rather than coming, every year.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. If you have like Xbox Live or PlayStation Live, whatever it's called for PlayStation, it should be it's part of it. You get to play these games, and then that's it. Subscription. But this whole situation about you have to download the game. Man, the games were cheaper when I had to buy them physically. How all of a sudden downloading them and it's actually more costly? But I don't know. Some IT geniuses out there could probably tell me why.
They gotta make money. It's whatever makes money at the end of the day, right? Hopefully they can figure it out. It's just getting boring watch like these games. But it's been fun. It's definitely been fun, and I guess till next time. See ya.
Yeah.